The clock struck midnight, and something unbelievable happened. Donald Trump, the brash, golden-haired titan of fame and fortune, slipped out of his glittering Mar-a-Lago estate, alone, headlights off, a trembling note clutched in his pocket. This wasn't the Trump you know from rallies or headlines. This was a man shadowed by something massive, something so heavy it drove him 1,200 miles through the night to a crumbling Queens cemetery. At 78, he'd built empires, won the presidency, faced down the world. But now, he was on a secret mission no one could have predicted. Not Melania, not his kids, not even the Secret Service shadows trailing his every move. What could push a billionaire king to his knees in the mud? What could he leave behind that would rip your heart out and make you question everything you thought you knew about him? Picture this: a black Tahoe tearing through the dark, Trump's hands shaking on the wheel, the weight of 44 years pressing down like a storm ready to break. This isn't just a story, it's a bombshell, a gut punch, a mystery so wild it'll keep you up at night wondering what really haunts the man who claims he's never lost. It started under the dazzling lights of Mar-a-Lago, late November 2024. The estate glowed like a jewel, its palm-lined paths drenched in floodlights, the murmur of a gala fading into the night. Inside, gold-rimmed glasses clinked, donors in tuxedos swapped boasts, and a string quartet strummed a patriotic tune that felt like background noise to Trump's larger-than-life presence. At 78, he still owned the room, hair swept back, red tie slicing through his black suit, voice booming as he spun tales of 2016, the biggest win, folks, nobody saw it coming. The laugh that followed was loud, rehearsed, a reflex honed over decades. But his eyes, they darted restless, shadowed with something unspoken. He checked his watch, 11:47 p.m., and slipped a hand into his pocket, fingers brushing a folded paper he'd carried all night. That note wasn't just paper. It was a secret, ink smudged from rewrites, a confession he'd wrestled with for weeks in the dead of night. He hadn't told a soul, not Melania, not Don Jr., not Eric, not even the Secret Service who still hovered like ghosts of his presidency. This was his burden, his alone, and it was about to drag him into the shadows. "Excuse me, got to make a call," he said, waving off a donor's protest with a grin. "Big deal, huge, trust me." He moved fast, cutting through the ballroom, past the gilt-framed mirrors reflecting his smirking portraits, always waving, always winning. The crowd thinned as he hit the service corridor, its fluorescent hum a stark shift from the opulence. His shoes clicked on tile, too loud, too deliberate, like a man on a mission he couldn't back out of. He paused at a side door, glancing back. No agents, no aides, no prying eyes. Good. He'd planned this down to the second, told the detail he'd crash early, slipped a decoy driver a crisp 100 to idle the Escalade out front. The real ride waited beyond the hedges. A black Chevy Tahoe, rented under a shell name, keys left by a loyal caddy who didn't ask questions. Trump pushed the door open, the night air hitting him cool and salty, a faint tang of Florida swamp curling in his lungs. He pulled his coat tight, a rare nod to stealth, and moved. The Tahoe sat where promised, engine off, windows dark. He slid in, the leather creaking under his weight, and fumbled the key into the ignition. His hands shook, not from age, he'd swear, but from something heavier, something clawing at him from the inside. The engine growled to life, and he peeled out, headlights off until he cleared the estate's gates. No tail, no lights behind, he was clear. The drive north was a blur, a fevered rush through Florida's neon strip malls fatting into Georgia's pines, then the Carolinas' endless highways. He kept the radio off, the silence thick, broken only by the hum of tires and his own mutterings. "Got to do this, got to see it through," he said, voice low, like he was convincing himself of something he couldn't name. That note burned in his pocket, its words looping in his head. "Fred, I made it big, bigger than you'd believe, but I didn't make it right." He gripped the wheel tighter, jaw set, Queen still hours away but pulling him like a magnet. This wasn't about politics or power. This was personal, raw, a reckoning 44 years in the making. By 3 a.m., he hit a gas station in Virginia, a dingy shell with flickering lights. He pulled his cap low, no logo, a thrift store grab, and stepped out, stretching stiff legs. The clerk, a kid with acne and a vape, barely looked up as Trump tossed cash for fuel and a coffee black, no sugar. "Keep the change," he growled, voice rougher than usual, a disguise of sorts. The kid shrugged, pocketing it, and Trump was back on the road, the bitter coffee waking him up, oblivious to the figure watching from the lot's edge. That figure was Sam Russo, 62, a Queens native turned drifter leaning on a pickup, eyes narrowing as the Tahoe rolled out. Sam scratched his beard, a hunch forming. He'd caught the news Trump spotted at Mar-a-Lago earlier, and that face, that swagger, clicked like a puzzle piece snapping into place. Sam had worked cemeteries his whole life, knew the roots, the habits of the grieving. "What's a guy like that running from?" he muttered, climbing into his truck. He didn't follow, not yet, but he filed it away, a spark of curiosity that wouldn't die. Meanwhile, Trump hit New York by dawn, the city's skyline jagged against a gray sky. He navigated Queens' back streets, Flushing, past the bodegas and row houses his father once owned, until the cemetery loomed ahead. St. John's, a patch of green hemmed by chain link, its stones weathered, forgotten. Not grand, not Trump Tower, but personal. He parked a block away, killed the engine, and sat, breath fogging the windshield. The note felt heavier now, a weight he couldn't shake, a confession for Fred Trump Jr., his brother, dead 44 years. He stepped out, the air cold, damp with morning mist, his shoes sinking into wet grass as he approached the rusted, unlocked gate. No one around, just him, the stones, and a silence that pressed in like a fist. He knew the spot, third row, fifth marker, a modest slab, Fred C. Trump Jr., 1930-81981. His brother, the one who didn't make it, didn't fight it, didn't win. Trump's chest tightened, a rare crack in the armor he'd built over decades. He didn't hear the gravel crunch behind him, didn't see the shadow until it spoke. "Hey, you can't be here." The voice was rough, edged with suspicion. Trump turned, startled, and met Sam Russo's glare, groundskeeper veteran, a man who'd seen too much to care about fame. Sam stood at the gate, shovel in hand, eyes narrowing. "Private property, pal, who the hell are you?" Trump froze, cap low, hands in pockets, the note crinkling against his fingers, its secret suddenly too close to spilling. "Just visiting," he said, voice steady but strained. "Family." Sam stepped closer, squinting. "Family, huh? Looks like a guy I've seen on TV, big shot loudmouth. That you, Trump?" The name hung in the air, a challenge. Trump's jaw clenched, his mind racing, bluff, bolt, or face it. The cemetery stretched behind him, Fred's grave a silent pull, and Sam wasn't backing off. The night's wait was about to break, and what came next would change everything. The mist clung to St. John's Cemetery like a shroud, curling around the weathered stones as Donald Trump stood frozen, cap pulled low, hands buried in his coat. Sam Russo loomed a few paces off, shovel propped on his shoulder, his grizzled face set in a scowl that could have cracked granite. The dawn light was weak, casting long shadows that turned the scene into something out of a gritty western. Trump, the brash king of headlines, cornered by a nobody with a shovel. Sam's voice cut through the quiet like a blade. "That you, Trump?" he repeated, stepping closer, boots crunching gravel. His eyes flicked over Trump's figure, the red tie peeking from the coat, the posture too proud to hide. "Big shot sneaking around my graveyard at sunrise. What's the game?" Trump's jaw tightened, his breath a faint puff in the cold. He'd faced down reporters, rivals, whole damn countries, but this guy, this grizzled groundskeeper, had him pinned in a way he hadn't felt since Fred Jr.'s funeral 44 years back. The note in his pocket, that smudged, crumpled confession, felt like a live wire sparking against his fingers. He couldn't run, not with Fred's grave so close, but he couldn't spill it either, not yet. "No game," Trump said, voice low, rougher than his rally bark. "Just here to see someone. Private, okay? Let me through." Sam didn't budge, planting the shovel's tip in the dirt like a flag. "Private? You don't look like the quiet type. Seen you on television, all noise, all flash. This ain't your turf, it's mine. Who you visiting?" Trump's eyes flicked past Sam to the third row, fifth marker, Fred's spot. He could see it from here, the stone chipped, moss creeping up its edges, a silent monument to a brother who'd slipped away while Trump climbed higher. 44 years since Fred drank himself out of the picture, and still it pulled at him, a thread he'd never cut. "Family," he said finally, meeting Sam's stare. "That's all you need to know. Family." Sam snorted, a dry laugh that didn't reach his eyes. Funny, never pegged you for the sentimental kind. You're the guy who builds towers, not bridges. What's a dead relative got on Donald Trump? The jab stung, sharper than Trump expected. He straightened, cap shadowing his face, and took a step forward, closing the gap. You don't know me, pal. I've got more heart than you guess, tremendous heart. Built everything from nothing, took care of people. You're just a guy with a shovel. What's your story? Sam's grip tightened on the handle, knuckles whitening. My story, 30 years digging graves. Vietnam before that, 2 tour. Seen more real than your reality shows. I don't buy the hard act. You're here for something and it ain't tears. Spill it or you're out. Trump's mind raced. Bluff or push? Sam wasn't some pundit he could steamroll with volume. This guy had a weight to him, a solidity Trump couldn't dismiss. The note burned hotter, its words clawing up. Fred, I made it big, but I didn't make it right. He'd driven 1,200 miles to face that truth, not to spar with a groundskeeper, but Sam's eyes, hard, unyielding, locked him in place. Look, Trump said, softening his tone, a rare pivot. I'm not here to cause trouble. Honest, just need a minute, maybe 2. You've got a job, I respect that. Great job, really. Let me do mine. Sam tilted his head, studying him. Your job. What's a billionaire doing sneaking into a dump like this? No cameras, no crowd. That's not you. I've buried folks here, poor, broken, forgotten. You don't fit. Maybe I do, Trump snapped, sharper than he meant. The words slipped out raw and he caught himself, glancing away. Fred's grave tugged at his peripheral, a silent judge. He softened again, hands up. 5 minutes, that's all, then I'm gone. Sam didn't move, but his scowl eased a fraction. 5 minutes, he said finally, stepping aside, shovel still in hand. But I'm watching. One wrong move and I don't care who you are, you're dirt. Trump nodded, brushing past, the gate creaking as he slipped through. The grass was slick under his shoes, the air heavy with damp earth and memory. He moved fast, weaving between stones, a cracked angel, a faded cross, until he reached it. Fred C. Trump Jr. 1930-81981. No flourish, no gold, just a name and dates. Trump stopped, breath catching, the weight of the night crashing down. He knelt awkwardly, joints stiff from the drive, and stared at the stone. Hey, Freddie, he muttered, voice barely a whisper. Been a while. The words felt clumsy, wrong, but he pushed on. Made it big like I said I would. Bigger than Dad, bigger than anybody. You'd have hated it, all the noise. A laugh escaped, brittle, then faded. But I didn't get it right, did I? Sam watched from the gate, leaning on his shovel, curiosity gnawing. He'd seen grief before, widows weeping, kids lost, but this. Trump, the brash king of headlines, kneeling in the muck. It didn't add up. He squinted, catching the glint of something in Trump's hand, paper folded tight. What's he got? Sam muttered, shifting closer, quiet as the mist. Trump pulled the note out, unfolding it with trembling fingers. The ink was smudged, blue bleeding into the creases, but the words held. Fred, I made it big, bigger than you'd believe, but I didn't make it right. Took your spot, ran with it, left you behind. Sorry, don't cut it, but it's all I've got. He traced the stone's edge, the cold biting his skin. You were the good one, he said, voice cracking. I just played the part. He didn't hear Sam's boots until they were close, too close. What's that? Sam's voice cut in, sharp, suspicious. Trump jolted, the note slipping to the grass, and spun to face him, cap askew, eyes wide. Sam loomed, shovel down now, peering at the paper in the dirt. Writing a speech or something else. Trump snatched it back, stuffing it in his pocket, rising fast. None of your business, he barked, the old fire flaring. I said 5 minutes, you're early. Minutes up when I say, Sam shot back, stepping into Trump's space. You're not here for a photo op, that's no press release. What's a guy like you hiding in a place like this? The question hung, heavy as the mist. Trump's pulse hammered. He could bolt, leave the note, let Fred rest, but Sam's stare pinned him, a challenge he couldn't dodge. The cemetery stretched silent around them, Fred's grave a witness, and Trump knew he wasn't done, not yet. You want answers, he said, voice low, steel creeping in. Stick around, you'll see. Sam's eyes narrowed, a flicker of doubt crossing his face. He'd pushed, but Trump wasn't folding, not like the broken souls he'd buried. The note, the grave, the man, it was a puzzle, and Sam was hooked. Better be worth it, he growled, stepping back, shovel up again. Clock's ticking. Trump turned back to the stone, heart pounding. The note was safe for now, but Sam's shadow lingered, and the secret he'd carried 1,200 miles felt closer to breaking than ever. What he'd say next, what he'd do, would either bury this moment or blow it wide open, and the world might never be the same. The mist thickened around St. John's Cemetery, a gray veil softening the edges of the gravestones as Donald Trump knelt again by Fred Jr.'s marker. The damp grass soaked through his trousers, the cold stone under his fingertips a tether to 1981, a year that haunted him more than he'd ever admit. The note was back in his pocket, snatched from Sam Russell's prying eyes, but its weight pressed harder now, a confession he'd carried across states, a crack in the myth he'd built. Sam's boots shifted on the gravel, a reminder he wasn't alone, and Trump's pulse thudded in his ears. "Clock's ticking," Sam called, voice rough but edged with something new, curiosity maybe, or doubt. He leaned on his shovel, the blade glinting faintly in the dawn light, watching Trump like a hawk sizing up prey. "Make it quick." Trump didn't look up, his gaze locked on the stone. Fred C. Trump Jr., 1930-81981. The date stung, 43 years old, gone too soon, a life snuffed out while Trump was still clawing his way up. He traced the carved letters, moss flacking under his nails. "Quick's not the word, Freddie," he muttered, low enough that Sam wouldn't catch it. "Took me 44 years to get here. Should have been sooner." Sam shifted, boots crunching closer. "Talking to yourself, or him?" His tone was sharp, probing, a man who'd heard too many graveside lies to buy silence. "What's a guy like you got to say to the dead?" Trump's shoulders stiffened, but he didn't rise, not yet. He'd faced tougher than Sam, Mueller, Pelosi, the whole damn media, but this was different. This wasn't a podium or a courtroom. This was Fred, and Sam was a gatekeeper he hadn't planned on. "Plenty," he said finally, voice steady but tight. "More than you'd get. You're not family, you wouldn't understand." "Try me," Sam shot back, stepping into the row, the shovel dragging a faint line in the dirt. "I've buried brothers, sons, buddies from Nam, seen it all. You don't strike me as the type to care past the headlines. So what's this guilt? PR stunt?" The word guilt landed like a punch, and Trump's head snapped up, eyes narrowing under the cap's brim. "Guilt? You don't know squat, pal. I've got no regrets. Built the biggest brand in the world, won the White House, changed everything. This isn't guilt, it's respect, okay? Tremendous respect." Sam smirked, a dry twist of his lips. "Respect, huh? Sneaking in at dawn, no cameras, no crowd, that's not respect, that's hiding. You're running from something, Trump, and it ain't me." Trump stood then, joints creaking, brushing mud off his knees with a scowl. He towered over the stone, but Sam's words gnawed, running from something. He hated that it hit, hated the flicker of truth in it. "I don't run," he said, voice rising, the old rally fire kicking in. "I face things, always have. Built towers, took on the swamp. You think I'm scared of a graveyard? Then why's your hand shaking?" Sam nodded at Trump's pocket, where the note crinkled as he clenched it. "You're holding something, saw it fall. Letter, speech. What's worth dragging you 1,200 miles to whisper to a ghost?" Trump's breath caught, his hand stilling. Sam was sharp, too sharp, and the note was a live grenade now, one wrong move from blowing up. He could lie, bluff his way out, he'd done it 1,000 times, but Fred's grave was right there, a silent witness, and the lie wouldn't stick. "It's personal," he said low, almost a growl. "That's all you get, personal." Sam stepped closer, eyes locked on Trump's. "Personal don't cut it when you're you. Everything's a show, elections, trials, that gold hair. This ain't personal, it's a secret, and I've seen enough to know secrets rot out here." The air crackled between them, a standoff of wills, Sam's grounded grit against Trump's guarded pride. Trump's mind spun. Sam wasn't wrong, not entirely. The note was a secret, a crack he'd never let the world see. "I took your spot, Fred left you behind." But Sam didn't need to know that, not yet, maybe not ever. "You're a groundskeeper," Trump said, pivoting, his tone sharp again. "Not a shrink, not a cop, dig your holes, leave me be, I've got this handled." Sam didn't flinch, planting the shovel deeper. "Handled? You're a mess, kneeling in mud, talking to stone. I've seen handled, this ain't it. Who's this Fred guy to you? Spill it or I'm calling the cops." Trespassing, still a thing, even for ex-presidents. The threat jolted Trump, a spark of panic he buried fast. Cops meant lights, questions, headlines. Trump caught at brother's grave, and the note wouldn't stay his if that happened. He squared his shoulders, meeting Sam's glare. Fred's my brother, he said, the words heavy, final. Older brother, died young, too young. That's who he is. Happy now. Sam's smirk faded, his eyes softening for a beat, a flicker of recognition, maybe empathy. Brother, he echoed, voice quieter. Lost mine in Nam, 68, Hugh, never got to say much either. He paused, then hardened again. Still don't explain the sneaking. Why now? Why here? Trump's throat tightened. Fred's name out loud was a weight he hadn't braced for. Why now? He repeated almost to himself. He glanced at the stone, the years blurring. 1981, Fred's laugh gone, the bottle winning. Because I owe him, he said, barely audible. Owe him big, bigger than anyone knows. Sam tilted his head, curiosity flaring again. Owe him? What's a dead guy owed by a winner like you? Money, fame, you've got plenty, he's got dirt. Trump's laugh was sharp, bitter, cutting through the mist. Plenty, you think that's it? I've got the world, best buildings, best deals, best everything. But Fred, he had something else, something I didn't get. He stopped, catching himself, the crack too wide now. He waved a hand, dismissing it. Forget it, you wouldn't understand. Try me, Sam said again, stepping closer, the shovel a prop now, not a threat. I've heard worse than whatever's eating you. Owe him what? Trump's eyes flicked to the stone, then back to Sam, a man he didn't know, shouldn't trust, but who'd somehow pried the lid off. The note trembled in his pocket, its words clawing out. He could walk away, leave it unsaid, keep the myth intact. But Fred was listening, or Trump imagined he was, and the silence broke. He was the good one, Trump said, voice low, raw. Dad's favorite, smart, kind pilot, the real deal. I was the loud one, the fighter. Fred crashed, booze, bad luck, and I took his spot, ran with it, made it huge. But I did, he faltered, hand on the stone. Didn't save him. Sam went still, the shovel dropping an inch. Save him, he said, softer now but sharp. You're not God, Trump, even you can't rewrite that. What's the note for then? Absolution. Trump's head jerked up, the word slicing deep. Not yours, he snapped, fire back. Not your business, not anyone's. I'm here, that's enough. Is it? Sam pressed, closing the gap, his voice a low rumble. You drove all night, dodged your own people. That's not enough, that's a man drowning, not standing. What's on that paper? Trump's hand clenched around it, the crinkle loud in the quiet. Sam was too close, physically, mentally, and the grave felt like a trap now, Fred's name a mirror he couldn't escape. He could shove past, bolt to the Tahoe, bury this night. But Sam's eyes held him, and the note's truth burned hotter, a confession he'd never spoken, not to Melania, not to Ivanka, not to God. Back off, he said, voice steel, stepping away from the stone. You've got your story, brother's dead, I'm here, that's it. Sam didn't move, his stare unrelenting. Not buying it, you're not done, I see it. That paper's the key, and I'm not blind. Show me, or I'm not the only one who'll wonder. The threat hung, subtle but real. Trump's chest heaved, the mist swirling as the sun crept higher, light catching the stone's edge. Fred's grave waited, and Sam wasn't leaving. The note was a heartbeat away from breaking free, and what came next would either bury Trump's secret or shatter it into the light. The sun clawed its way above the Queen's skyline, a thin gold line slicing through the mist that draped St. John's Cemetery. Donald Trump stood by Fred Jr.'s gravestone, his cap shadowing eyes that burned with defiance and a raw ache he'd buried deeper than the stone at his feet. Sam Russo loomed a few steps away, shovel resting in the dirt, his weathered face locked in a challenge that hadn't wavered since he'd called Trump out. The note in Trump's pocket, Fred, I made it big, bigger than you'd believe, but I didn't make it right. Took your spot, ran with it, left you behind, was a live coal, its words threatening to ignite under Sam's unrelenting stare. Show me, Sam said again, voice low but firm, a drill sergeant's edge honed by years of graves and ghosts. That paper, why you're here, not just some dead brother. You're shaking like a man with a loaded gun. What's it say? Trump's hand tightened around the note, the crinkle loud in the stillness. He'd faced worse, impeachments, debates, screaming mobs. But Sam's quiet insistence was a beast he couldn't outshout, a blade cutting too close to the bone. Fred's grave watched, silent, and Trump's chest ached with a weight he couldn't bluff away. You're pushing, pal, he said, voice steel but fraying at the edges. Told you it's personal, best answer you'll get, back off. Sam didn't blink, stepping closer, the shovel a prop now, not a weapon. Personal don't mean squat when you're Donald Trump. Everything's public wins, losses, that mouth of yours. You don't get to hide in my yard, not with that look. I've seen guilt, grief, the whole damn mess. You're carrying something, spill it. Trump's laugh was sharp, a reflex to dodge the hit. Guilt. You're a shrink now. I've got nothing to feel bad about. Tremendous life, best life. Built an empire, won the biggest election ever. Nobody does it better. You're digging for dirt that's not there. Then why's your voice cracking? Sam shot back, eyes narrowing. You're not selling me a tower, you're selling yourself a story. That brother Fred, he's got you rattled. Owe him, you said. Owe him what? Fame, power. You've got it all, what's left? The question pierced, a needle through Trump's armor. He turned from Sam, facing the stone again, fingers brushing the cold granite. Fred C. Trump Jr. 1930-819-81 stared back, a life cut short while Trump stretched long and loud. What's left? He echoed, half to himself, the words slipping out. Something I can't buy, can't build. Something he had, something I took. Sam tilted his head, curiosity flaring. Took what? His place, his spotlight. You're the golden son, heard it all on television. Fred S.R.'s pride, the big shot. What your brother have that you do? Trump's jaw clenched, the note a heartbeat in his pocket. He could end this, shove Sam aside, bolt to the Tahoe, bury the night in Queens shadows. But Fred's grave held him, and Sam's words kept digging, too close, too true. He had heart, Trump said, voice low, raw. Real heart, not the show, not the deals. Dad loved him. Freddie was the one, the pilot, the good guy. I was the backup, the loudmouth. He fell, I ran all the way to the top. Sam's shovel scraped the dirt, a slow, deliberate sound. Backup, huh? Doesn't sound like you. You don't strike me as second string, always the star, right? So he fell. Booze, you said. Why's that on you? Trump spun, eyes blazing, the cap slipping back. It's not on me, not like that. I didn't pour it down his throat, didn't crash his plane. But I saw it, saw him slipping, saw Dad turn away. I could've. He stopped, breath ragged, the crack widening. Could've done something. Instead, I took the reins, made it mine, left him in the dust. Sam's smirk was gone, replaced by a frown, not pity, but something close. Left him, he said, testing the words. That's the debt. You think you stole his life, lived it bigger, louder. That's a hell of a burden, Trump, even for you. Trump's voice rose, fire flaring. I don't do burdens, I win, okay. Best winner, nobody better. Fred's gone, I'm here, that's how it works. But yeah, I owe him for not being there, for taking what he couldn't hold. You happy now? Not yet, Sam said, stepping into Trump's space, voice steady. That note, it's not just sorry. You drove 1,200 miles, dodged your own people. That's not a casual what's it say? Absolution, confession. You're not the praying type, so what's it for? Trump's hand shot to his pocket, guarding the note like a shield. You're a nosy bastard, he snapped, stepping back, the stone at his heels. It's mine, my words, my brother. You don't get a vote. You're not in this. Am now, Sam countered, unmoving. You brought this mess to my ground, made it my business. I've seen men break out here, vets, widows, dads. You're close, Trump, real close. That paper's your breaking point. Show it or it'll eat you alive. The words landed hard, a mirror Trump couldn't dodge. He'd broken men, opponents, critics, but breaking himself. That wasn't the script. Yet here he was, mud on his knees, Fred's ghost in his head, and Sam pulling strings he didn't know he had. Eat me alive, he said, forcing a laugh. I'm steel, best steel. Nothing eats me, not you, not this. Then prove it, Sam challenged, voice rising, a dare. Show me the note, stand by it. You're all talk, big man, big wins, but you're scared of that little paper. What's it got that I can't handle? Trump's breath hitched, the cemetery shrinking around him, stones, mist, Fred's grave closing in. Sam's dare was a trap, but it burned. Scared. He wasn't scared, he'd faced down the world. But the note wasn't the world, it was Fred, it was him, it was the crack he'd never let show. You want it, he said, voice low, dangerous. You think you can handle it, let's see. He pulled the note out, slow, deliberate, holding it between them like a loaded gun. The ink gleamed faintly, smudged, jagged, his hand shaking despite the bravado. Sam's eyes locked on it, a flicker of triumph, but Trump didn't unfold it, not yet. This is me, he said, voice steel again. Me and Fred, nobody else. You ready for that? Sam nodded, leaning in, the shovel forgot. Ready? Let's hear it. What's the big man owe his brother? Trump hesitated, the note trembling, Fred Stone a silent judge. He could read it, let Sam have it, let the words spill into the mist, or he could burn it, walk away, keep the myth intact. The sun climbed higher, light catching the paper's edge, and Sam waited, a shadow Trump couldn't shake. Then the wind kicked up, sharp, sudden, and the note slipped from his fingers, fluttering toward the grave. Trump lunged too slow, and it landed face up in the mud, ink stark against the white. Fred, I made it big, bigger than you'd believe, but I didn't make it right. Took your spot, ran with it, left you behind. Sorry, don't cut it, but it's all I've got. Sam's eyes widened, darting to it, and Trump froze, the secret bare between them. The wind howled, and the weight of 1,200 miles crashed down. Fred's ghost, Sam's stare, and a confession Trump couldn't claw back. Son of a... Sam muttered, voice low, a mix of shock and something softer, respect maybe, or pity. He stepped closer, squinting at the note, the mist curling around his boots. That's it? That's what you hauled ass across the country for? Trump snatched the paper back, mud smearing his fingers, and stuffed it into his pocket, rising fast. His cap had slipped, hair wild in the wind, eyes blazing with a fury he couldn't mask. That's mine, he snapped, voice rough, trembling. My words, not yours, not the world. You saw it fine. Now forget it. But Sam's dry laugh cut through the quiet, and Trump knew forgetting wasn't an option. Not now, not ever. The secret was out, and the ground beneath him was about to shift in ways he couldn't control. The wind howled through St. John's Cemetery, a sharp gust that had snatched the note from Donald Trump's fingers and flung it into the mud at Fred Jr.'s gravestone. The paper lay face up, ink stark against the damp white. Fred, I made it big, bigger than you'd believe, but I didn't make it right. Took your spot, ran with it, left you behind. Sorry, don't cut it, but it's all I've got. Trump's breath stopped, his hand outstretched mid-lunge, the secret he'd guarded for 1,200 miles now bare under the rising sun. Sam Russo stood frozen, eyes locked on the words, the shovel limp in his grip. Son of a, Sam muttered, voice low, a mix of shock and something softer, respect maybe, or pity. He stepped closer, squinting at the note, the mist curling around his boots. That's it. That's what you hauled ass across the country for. Trump snatched the paper back, mud smearing his fingers, and stuffed it into his pocket, rising fast. His cap had slipped, hair wild in the wind, and his eyes blazed with a fury he couldn't mask. That's mine, he snapped, voice rough, trembling. My words, not yours, not the world. You saw it fine. Now forget it. Sam's laugh was dry, cutting through the quiet. You don't drop a bomb like that and walk away, Trump. Took your spot, left you behind. That's not a note, that's a damn confession. You're bleeding out here and you think I'll just shrug. Trump's chest heaved, the cemetery spinning, stones mist, Fred's grave a blur. Sam's words hit harder than he'd braced for confession, and the truth of it burned. He'd written it in a Mar-a-Lago bathroom at 3 a.m., pen shaking, Melania asleep down the hall. It was his and Fred's, but now Sam had it, a stranger with a shovel and too much nerve. You don't get it, he said, voice low, steel creeping in. It's not for you, it's for him. I don't need your take, your judgment, nothing. Sam planted the shovel, leaning on it, his stare unrelenting. Don't need it. You're the one kneeling in my dirt, spilling your guts. I've buried enough guilt to know it when I see it, and you're drowning, big shot. That note's not for him, it's for you. What making it right mean to a dead man? The question sliced deep, a blade Trump couldn't dodge. He turned to the stone, Fred's name glaring back, 1938-1981, and the years crashed over him. Fred at 30, laughing in a Cessna cockpit. Fred at 40, slurring at a family dinner. Fred at 43, gone while Trump signed his first big deal. Making it right, he said, half to Sam, half to the grave, means saying it out loud here. I won Freddie, won big, but you should have been there, not me. Sam's frown deepened, a crease of doubt. Should have been there. What, you think you swapped places? He drank himself dead, you said it. That's not your fault, Trump, not your win either. Sounds like you've been running from a ghost you can't catch. Trump's head jerked up, eyes flashing. Running? I don't run, I fight, I build, I win. Best at it, nobody better. Fred didn't lose because of me, he lost because he couldn't hack it. But I saw it, saw him fade, and he faltered, the crack widening. I didn't pull him back, took his shot instead. Sam stepped closer, voice dropping, steady now. Took his shot? You mean your dad's golden ticket? Heard the stories, Fred SR, tough guy picking winners. You stepped up, he stepped down. That's life, not a crime. Why's it eating you now? Trump's laugh was bitter, echoing off the stones. Now because I'm old, pal, older than he ever got. Built towers, ran the country, best president, believe me. But it's all noise and he's still quiet. I'm here, he's there, and I can't shake it. That note's mine. Fix. Fix, Sam's eyes narrowed, catching the word. You can't fix dead, Trump, not with ink, not with anything. That's what's got you, you're chasing something you can't touch. What sorry do for a guy who's been gone 44 years? Trump's hand clenched the note, mud caking his knuckles. Does what it does, he said, voice tight. Says it, puts it out there. I don't lose sleep, I don't, but Fred, he's the one I didn't beat, didn't bury, had to come, had to say it. Sam tilted his head, studying him. Not the television Trump, not the bragger, but the man in the mud, cap askew, eyes red from the drive or something deeper. Say it, he said, softer now, almost a prompt. You wrote it, read it out loud like you planned. I'm here, he's here, sort of. Do it. Trump froze, the note a live wire again. He meant to, hadn't he? Kneel, whisper it to Fred, leave it behind. But Sam's push twisted it, made it real in a way he hadn't braced for. You're crazy, he said, forcing a grin. Read it to you, what you my priest now. I don't need an audience, best audience is me. Then why'd you let me see it? Sam countered, stepping into his space, voice rising. Wind didn't take it, you did. You're begging for someone to hear Trump, me, him, anybody. Read it or it's just paper in your pocket, nothing. The dare hung, a gauntlet in the mist. Trump's pulse hammered. Sam was right, damn him, and the note was a scream he'd muffled too long. He pulled it out again, slow, the mud streaking his fingers, and held it up, eyes darting between Sam and Fred's stone. You want it, he said, voice low, dangerous. Fine, you'll get it, but you don't know what you're asking. Sam nodded, arms crossed, waiting. Go on, let's hear the big man break. Trump's throat tightened, the words starring back, Fred, I made it big, bigger than you'd believe, and he opened his mouth, voice catching, then steadied. Fred, he started, loud, too loud, the cemetery swallowing it. I made it big, bigger than you'd believe, but I didn't make it right. Took your spot, ran with it, left you behind. Sorry, don't cut it, but it's all I've got. The air went still, the wind dying as the words settled. Sam's jaw shifted, a flicker of something shock, maybe all crossing his face. Trump's chest heaved, the note trembling, and he dropped it to the grass, deliberate this time, letting it lie at Fred's feet. There, he said, voice raw, turning to Sam. That's it, done. You happy now? Sam stared at the paper, then at Trump, his shovel forgot. Happy? No, that's not the word. You just ripped yourself open, Trump, bled all over this place. That's not happy, that's real. What's it feel like? Trump's laugh was shaky, a release. Feels like hell, best hell maybe. Said it, he heard it wherever he is. You got your show, now what? Now what? Sam echoed, stepping back, his voice softer but sharp. You think that's the end, you leave that there, it's not just Fred, it's mine too. I've got a phone, a story. World, eat this up, what's it worth to you? The twist hit Sam's threat, quiet but real, a shift from witness to player. Trump's eyes widened, the note in the mud, a bomb now, not a bomb. Worth, he said, voice rising, fire back. You're blackmailing me, after that, you're a lowlife lowest. That's mine, you don't touch it. Touch it. Sam said, a faint smirk returning. Didn't have to, you gave it to me. Said it out loud, left it there. I'm no saint, Trump, I've got bills, a life. What's a secret like that worth to the guy who's got everything? Trump's hands balled into fists, the cemetery spinning again. Fred's grave, Sam's glare, the note a trap he'd walked into. He'd bared it, freed it, and now it could bury him. The sun climbed, light hitting the paper, and Sam waited, a shadow with power Trump hadn't seen coming. What he did next would either silence this moment, or let it scream to the world. The sun burned through the mist at St. John's Cemetery, casting long shadows across Fred Jr.'s gravestone where Donald Trump stood, mud-streaked and defiant, facing Sam Russo. The note, Fred, I made it big, bigger than you'd believe, but I didn't make it right. Took your spot, ran with it, left you behind. Sorry, don't cut it, but it's all I've got, dangled in the mud, a piece of Trump's soul he'd bared and now fought to reclaim. Sam's offer hung between them like a loaded gun. Burn it and keep it quiet, or let him wield it as a weapon against the world. Trump's grin, shaky but fierce, promised a counterstrike. You think they'd believe a grubby gravedigger over me? He barked, voice booming. I'm Donald Trump, best brand, biggest name. You've got nothing, a muddy paper, a story nobody'd buy. Try it, see what happens. Sam's smirk widened, a glint in his eye. Nothing. I've got your voice, heard it loud and clear. Took your spot, left you behind. That's not tabloid fluff, that's you cracking open. World's been waiting for a chink in the armor. This is it. I've got a phone, a recorder app, and no love for your type. Test me. The threat tightened Trump's gut, a cold spike he hadn't felt since the Access Hollywood tape dropped. He bluffed his way out of that. Locker room talk, folks. But this was different. This was Fred, this was him, raw and real, and Sam's calm was a wall he couldn't bulldoze. "Recorder," he said, voice dropping, dangerous. "You taped me, that's illegal wiretapping, entrapment. I'll bury you in court, best lawyers, believe me." Sam shrugged, patting his jacket pocket. "Didn't tape yet. But I could've, and you'd never know. Point is, I've got eyes, ears, and that note's right there. You read it, sang it like a damn hymn. I'm no lawyer, but I've got enough to make noise. What's your move?" Trump's eyes darted to the note, its edges curling in the mud. Fred Stone, a silent witness. He could grab it, burn it, in this. But Sam's words were out, lodged in the air in his head. "My move," he said, stepping closer, voice rising. "I don't bow to threats, never have, never will. You're a nobody, a shovel jockey with a big mouth. I've crushed bigger. "Sure," Sam said, unmoving, his voice steady. "This ain't a rival, a reporter, this is me, standing on your brother's grave, holding your soul in my hands. You bared it, I didn't ask. Now it's mine too. What's that worth to the guy who's got everything?" Trump's breath hitched, the cemetery shrinking, stones missed, Fred's shadow pressing in. Sam's calm was maddening, a mirror to his own chaos. "Worth," he snapped, fire flaring. "You want money, a payout, fine, name it. I'll write a check, best check. But that note stays with me." Sam's laugh was low, a rumble that cut deeper than Trump's bluster. "Money, sure, I'd take it, bills don't pay themselves, but this ain't about cash, Trump, it's about you. You think a check fixes this? That note's not a contract, it's a wound. You left it here, gave it up. What's it mean now?" Trump's hand shot to his pocket, then stopped. The note wasn't there, it was in the mud, and Sam's words twisted the knife. "Mean," he said, voice cracking, raw. "It means I said it to Fred, to him. I owed him that. Best apology, real stuff. You don't get to twist it, use it, it's done." "Done?" Sam stepped forward, closing the gap, his voice sharp. "You don't get to decide that. You dropped it literally, figuratively. I've seen men leave flowers, tears, you left a damn confession. That's not done, that's alive, and I'm holding it. What's next?" Trump's mind raced. Next. He'd come to unload, to free himself, not to hand Sam a loaded gun. The note was out, its words spoken, and Fred's grave felt heavier, not lighter. "Next is you back off," he said, steel returning. "You've got no play, no proof, no tape. Try selling it, see who cares. I'll deny it, best denial, perfect, you're bluffing." Sam bent down, slow, deliberate, and plucked the note from the mud, holding it up between them. The paper dripped, ink smearing, but the words held. "This ain't a bluff, it's evidence. Your hand, your mess. Deny it all you want, I've got this, and I've got memory. What's that worth?" Trump lunged, fast for 78, grabbing for the note, but Sam pulled back, raising it high. "Give it," Trump barked, voice booming, a rally roar in the quiet. "That's mine, you've got no right." "No right?" Sam said, stepping away, the note dangling. "You left it, abandoned it, like you said you left him. Finders keepers, Trump, graveyard rules, you want it, earn it." Trump's chest heaved, fury mixing with panic. Sam held the note like a trophy, a piece of him Trump couldn't reclaim. "Earn it," he said, voice low, dangerous. "I don't earn from you, I take. Best taker, always have been. You're done, pal, give it or I'll make you." "Make me?" Sam's smirk returned, a glint of steel in his eyes. "Try it, old man versus vet. I've fought worse than you in jungles you'd never step in. This note's mine till I say, what's your next play?" The standoff stretched, the sun climbing, light catching the mud-streaked paper. Trump's hands shook, rage, exhaustion, the weight of Fred's grave behind him. He could fight, call Sam's bluff, walk away, but the note was out, its words a chain he'd forged himself. "You're a bastard," he said, voice breaking, a rare crack. "I gave him that, not you, not the world. Why's it yours?" Sam lowered the note, holding it loosely, his voice softening but firm. "Because you let it go. I've seen loss, buried it, lived it. You didn't just say sorry, you said you failed him. That's power, Trump, power you handed me. I could burn it, keep it, sell it. What's it worth to you now?" Trump's eyes locked on the note, Fred Stone a silent judge. "Worth," he said, voice raw, quiet. "Everything, best everything. It's me, Freddie, me and him. You don't get that, don't deserve it." "Deserve?" Sam stepped closer, the note between them. I don't want your soul, I want your choice. Burn it here, keep it quiet, I walk away. Or I keep it and we see what the world makes of Donald Trump's heart. Your call. The twist hit Sam's offer, a lifeline or a trap. Trump's breath caught the cemetery still, Fred's grave a pivot point. He could end it fire, ash, silence, or risk Sam's game, his legacy in a stranger's hands. My call, he said, voice steadying, fire flickering back. Best call, always mine. You think you've got me, think again. Sam's eyes narrowed, a flicker of doubt. Think again, you're cornered, Trump, mud on your knees, note in my hand. What's your ace? Trump's grin crept back, shaky but real. Ace, I'm the ace, best ace. You've got paper, I've got me. Try playing it, see who wins. Then the rustle came from the gate, footsteps on gravel, snapping the tension. Sam spun, shovel rising instinctively, his smirk replaced by a frown. Who's there? He barked, a vet's edge cutting through. Trump squinted into the light, a figure, small, hunched, moving slow but deliberate. A woman, gray hair peeking from a scarf, clutching wilted daisies. She paused, peering at them. Sam, she called, voice thin but steady. That you? What's going on? This ain't your shift. Sam's shoulders eased, but he kept the note high. Mrs. Carter, he said, nodding. Just handling something, visitor got lost. Trump's grin widened, a spark of relief. Lost, now right where I need to be. Morning, ma'am, beautiful day, best day. He waved, the old charm kicking in, but his eyes stayed on Sam, calculating. Edna Carter, 78, a widow who'd buried her husband here a decade back, shuffled forward, daisies trembling. Visitor, she said, squinting at Trump, then gasping. Good Lord, you're him, aren't you? The president. Saw you on television. What are you doing here? Sam's jaw tightened, the note crinkling in his fist. Paying respects, he said, voice flat, shooting Trump a glare. Private visit, was just leaving. Leaving? Trump laughed, sharp and loud, stepping toward Edna. Not yet, got family here, ma'am. Best family, Fred Trump Jr., my brother. Came to see him, say a few things. This guy, he jerked a thumb at Sam, he's helping out. Great guy, tremendous help. Edna's eyes softened, daisies dipping. Oh, your brother, I'm sorry, dear. Lost my Tom in 15, come every week. It's good you're here, family's everything. Everything, Trump echoed, nodding, his voice softening, a rare pitch. Best thing means the world. Fred was, he paused, glancing at the stone, the mud where the note had lain. He was the good one, you know, I just made it loud. Sam's smirk twitched, doubt crossing his face. Trump was playing it, the charm, the crowd, turning Edna into an ally without her knowing. Good one, huh? Sam said, stepping between them, the note still in hand. That's not what this says. Took your spot, left you behind. Sounds like you made it loud at his expense. Edna frowned, peering at the paper. What's that? A letter for your brother. Trump's grin faltered, his hand twitching toward his empty pocket. It's nothing, he said, too quick, stepping forward. Personal stuff, best kept private. Sam here's just holding it for me, nothing. Sam held it higher, ink catching the light. This ain't nothing, Trump, it's you, raw. Mrs. Carter, you want to hear what the big man wrote. Sorry, don't cut it, that's a hell of a line. Sam, Edna snapped, daisies wobbling. That's not yours, give it back. Private's private, I don't snoop on Tom's letters and you shouldn't either. Trump seized the opening, voice booming. Exactly, best lady, smartest. It's mine, Sam, give it or you're stealing. I've got witnesses, best witnesses, try me. Sam's eyes darted between them, Edna's scowl, Trump's fire, and the shovel shifted in his grip. Stealing, he said, voice low, a growl. You left it, I picked it up. Graveyard rules, finders keepers. But fine, you want it, earn it. Earn it? Trump stepped closer, chest out, the old fighter back. I don't earn from you, I take. Best taker, always have been. You've got no play, she's here, she sees. Hand it over or I'll make this loud, louder than you can handle. Edna clutched her daisies, stepping back. Boys, stop it, this is a holy place. Sam, give it, he's right, it's his. Don't make a scene. Sam's jaw worked, a muscle twitching, but Edna's plea and Trump's glare boxed him in. He lowered the note, slow, deliberate, holding Trump's gaze. Holy place, he muttered, then thrust it forward. Take it, Trump, but it's not over, I heard it, know it, that's not mud you can wash off. Trump grabbed it fast, stuffing it deep in his pocket, mud smearing his coat. Over, he said, voice steadying, a grin creeping back. It's over when I say best closer, believe me. You've got nothing, words in your head, no proof. I'm steel, best steel. Try selling it, see who cares. Sam's eyes darkened, a storm brewing. No proof, Maybe, but I've got memory and truth sticks, Trump. You bared it, can't unbear it. What's that worth to you? Trump turned to Fred's grave, the stone glinting in the sun, and knelt again, slower this time. Worth, he said, voice low to Sam, to Fred, to himself. What I say, nothing to you, everything to me. I said it, left it done. He pulled the note out, mudded and torn, and held it over the stone, fingers steady now. Fred, it's yours. Said it meant it, sorry's all I've got. He dug a matchbook from his pocket, a Mar-a-Lago promo, gold embossed, and struck one, the flame flaring bright. Sam's eyes widened, Edna gasped, but Trump didn't hesitate. He touched it to the note, the paper catching fast, curling black as the words burned, made it big, didn't make it right, sorry. Ash drifted to the mud, settling at Fred's feet. There, he said, turning to Sam, voice raw but firm. Gone, best ending, perfect. You've got nothing, no paper, no proof. Just a story nobody'd buy. I'm done here. Sam stared at the ash, then at Trump, his shovel limp. Nothing, he said, voice quiet, a strange weight in it. Maybe, but I saw it, heard it, that's not nothing, Trump. Burn it all you want, it's still real. Edna stepped forward, daisies trembling. Let it be, Sam, he said his piece. Leave the man be. Trump nodded at her, a faint smile. Smart lady, best lady, it's over, Fred's got it, I'm good. He turned to Sam, eyes hard. You're out, no play, no win, best move's mine. Sam's smirk was gone, his face unreadable. Yours, huh, maybe, but I know and that's enough. Walk away, Trump, you're free till I say different. The twist landed, Sam's quiet power, not in the note but in the knowing. Trump's grin faltered, the ash at Fred's grave a gray smear. He'd burned it, ended it, hadn't he? But Sam's eyes held a piece he couldn't touch. Say different, he said, voice steadying. Try it, I'll outlast you. Best outlast, I'm Trump, always win. He turned, walking past Edna, past Sam, toward the gate, the Tahoe waiting beyond. The sun climbed higher, shadows shrinking, and Fred's stone stood silent, the ash its only mark. Sam watched him go, shovel in hand, a faint nod, not surrender, but a pause. Edna laid her daisies down, whispering to Tom, and the cemetery settled, the weight shifting. Hours later, Trump drove south, the Tahoe's hum a drone, Queens fatting in the rearview. The note was gone, Fred's debt paid, or so he told himself. But Sam's voice lingered, it's still real, and the victory felt thin, not absolute. He won, hadn't he? Best win always. Yet the road stretched long and a crack remained, one he couldn't bury. Back at St. John, Sam swept the ash into the mud, blending it with Fred's earth. He pulled his phone, stared at it, no tape, no proof, just memory, and pocketed it, a choice unmade. The world might never know, but he did, and that was power enough for now. If you enjoyed this story, check out another video with an even more amazing tale. There's always something exciting waiting for you on our channel. And don't forget, more wonderful stories are coming soon. Hit the subscribe button so you won't miss out on any of our upcoming adventures.